right, everyone will call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. Carrie John, Board Vice President, filling in for our absent President Teresa Ray, who is celebrating her birthday week. So just want to wish a happy birthday to Teresa Ray today. So first on the agenda, we are looking to approve the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? There are none. No changes. I need a motion to approve the agenda. So move. Second. All right, motion by Sue, second by Dale. Any questions? No questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries. And we'll move right into recognitions and presentations. Item A, we have the presentation from the Salamanca Fire Department.
Perfect. I am pleased to introduce Salamanca Fire Department Assistant Chief Krasinski, who is here to recognize 3 of our transportation department employees. We have Mrs. Oakes, who is joining us via Zoom, Christy Oakes. We have Sue Wilson, who is here, and then we believe we also have Mr. Mike Moore, who is unable to join us tonight. I'll turn it over to you, Chief.
All right. Good evening, board. I'm here today in place of Chief Sturdivant due to other obligations. He could not make it. But we wanted to recognize 3 of your employees for their actions that allowed a quick alert to a house fire February 15th early in the morning. Christy Oakes, Mike Moore were on the routes, ended up noticing smoke coming out of a residence on Front Avenue. Quickly worked to make a call and alert, and from there Sue Wilson then called 911 and allowed a quick response, allowing the residents of the house that were unaware of the fire at the time to get out quickly with the help of Salamanca PD and allowing us to respond quickly. So here's a letter for each of them from Fire Chief Tom Sturdivant and also the City of Salamanca Fire Connection. So I'm going to present this to you, Mr. John, so you can hand them out and go from there, because I know a couple of them aren't present. I can give you future copies of what
Oh, 3 has to.
you do have 2 here, right?
2 are here.
All right.
Have these,
So thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Chief. Oh, Sue, Mike, you want to come down? These are the letters of recognition that were presented by the fire department. And thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was fast. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so next up on the agenda, we have a presentation on school safety and reopening. Dr. Mueller?
Thank you. The good news is we have not had any students or staff test positive this week. We are at pretty much record lows for the year. Looking at our county numbers, there are currently 23 individuals in the southwest quadrant of Cat County that are tested positive. This is a very low number compared to the past several months. Counties are deemed as a low COVID-19 transmission if there are fewer than 200 cases per 100,000 residents over a 7-day period. Cat County is currently at 143 cases over the last 7 days, so we are currently considered a low transmission rate county. School operations are continuing with students and staff self-determining if they wear a mask. In general, particularly at the high school level, approximately 20 to 35% of our students continue to wear a mask, with several of our teachers as well. We do our best to encourage and ensure that everyone has the freedom to choose without any judgment whether they wish to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And that has gone very well so far.
Thank you. Okay, up next, we have a presentation update on equity plan and professional development. Mr. Justin Chad.
I was told to use my radio voice by Marcy. I'm just gonna try to speak as loudly as I can. So I was asked to come and do a quick presentation because after me is following the budget. So I know everybody's pretty excited about that. Today we're gonna talk about DEI stuff, specifically starting with what are the DEI strategic priorities and institutional goals. Some of these are developed in conversations with Bob and Mark and the admin team, and then conversations with people on the ground floor. So we're looking at DEI strategic priorities being supporting instruction to professional development opportunities with Fanny Beatty. We're going to talk about those in a few minutes. And then why are we doing that? To foster conversations and expand knowledge and experience throughout the district. The second is developing a more inclusive and equitable school community. This is an area that the school has done very well. We presented these in the past, talking about our food programs, et cetera. So building on these capacities, I just came from a BOCES presentation, and their comments and feedback from us was that Salamaker was doing exceptionally well in promoting specific DEI initiatives. Then finally, supporting our diverse learning community and our commitment to learning both inside and outside the school district. Okay, so I want to start where we started previously in every single presentation I try to do and talk about this is a journey. So we have two journeys here. We have your individual journeys as personhoods in understanding diversity, equity, inclusion as part of the school community. And then we have the institutional journey. So your personal journey helps build capacity for the larger institutional journey. We're going to talk about professional development opportunities. We're going to talk about beginning the journey. So we've already kind of done this work with multiple DEI focused professional development opportunities and building that capacity in the district. We start with every single person who comes into the district gets about 45-minute presentation for a new teacher academy. And then we have three specific ones that build those foundations in equity, diversity, and inclusion, defining them specifically so that everybody's kind of on the same page. The second part, we're going to expand that journey this year. We're going to try to go into things like cultural competency, offering these to people who've already gone through and understand the equity and diversity initiatives on the ground floor. But if you already have familiarity with it, feel free to jump in. This isn't something, we look at the scatter plot where everybody is. Some people are really advanced. Some people are just at the beginning level. We don't want to define where they are. Just try to help them, guide them in their journey. So these are the three areas we're looking at: Indigenous political diversity, gender diversity, and then racial diversity. Understanding all those three different aspects in very specific ways, understanding them as how they're culturally constructed, how they're defined, and how they're applied. We're now going to look at district cultural journey, bias in school settings. That was a big thing today. I actually missed it. I'm going to talk to Penny later, and I'm asked about what was actually talked about in the BOCES section. But this is a huge topic in school districts around the region. They seem to be focusing on how do we understand bias. Dr. Wheeler presented a presentation here last year on bias, and it was well received. So we're just going to build that capacity. And then finally is grading for equity. This is actually the district improvement plan, number 3. We're going to build for those specific faculty members that are working on grading. This is their core competency. We're going to try to work with them to understand things through an equity lens, specifically to grading. This is very complicated, and I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. Okay. Finally, we have the leadership cultural journey. We've gone through this with the leadership team previous last year. We're going to be expanding this through conversational discussions about what is it, how is it that you can be helped better in your leadership capacity. some of this has to do with grading as well. And these are policy changes, and I'm going to talk about those in one quick second. Developing inclusive and equitable environments. This is something that's ongoing. When I first came out, we talked to the group called Hadley Construction. I remember those conversations. We're looking at how can we partner with people inside their classrooms, electronically, and people who are just willing to create and be creative in spaces, and that's occurring kind of organically, allowing these spaces to develop. And then instead of us coming in and doing very complicated wall audits in each space, we're just going to push in and say, how can we make your space look a little bit more diverse? Make sense? Finally, developing inclusive and equitable environments. This is the grading for equity piece. Some spaces like Prospect School is very far advanced in their equity and grading equity. They're looking at standard-based practices. They're implemented in the Seneca Intermediate. They're moving in that direction. And then we're working with the high school to make sure that we get a full alignment policy and practices. This is highly complicated. My looking backwards, this stuff started in about 2006, as far as I can look. Other people have been a part of this. This is hard. So this is not something, takes a lot of conversations. We're having conversations with the students. We're having conversations with previous students. We're cataloging all that information, trying to get it in front of people. We already have a couple of policies on consideration, and those policies are going to come back to this body and see, how do you understand it? We'll have a much more very specific presentation on grading for equity on two specific key policies and where they came from, how were they developed, and how are they going to assist us in understanding the district's grading policies so we can align them so people understand when they come in here, what is it that they're getting when they come out, right? All right. We're basing these things on two different books. I'm a book guy, so I look at Joe Feldman's Grading for Equity, and I'm looking at Wormelli's Fair Isn't Always Equal. Both of them are experts in the fields. I am not, so I'm relying on a lot of this information that they're providing, and they're the roadmaps that I'm trying to follow. We look at grading for equity and building capacity. It's a 3-year strategic plan. This has been I believe it's going to continue, Mark. So next year and the year after that, we will have, this is the goal is to have a strategic alignment of grading across the district. I think this is ambitious. It sets a clear path. It sets some measurable outcomes. And it says it's going to reward those who have said, hey, we're going to take this on. And then we're going to provide supports to those who need a little bit more help. And if this sounds too simplistic, I apologize, it is not. One, we're going to look at drafting new and revising previous grading practice policies, looking at districts across the state, but also looking at what we do well here. And trying to incorporate that into potentially a new cultural way to understand how we're going to provide better outcomes for students. Then hopefully by summer or fall of 2022, we're implementing some policies. That means that we're going to have some changes coming. Changes are definitely scary and they cause some chaos, right? Well, we've seen how if we communicate it at a higher level, get the community to understand, then we won't necessarily put people under stress. We've understood, I understand one thing in particular, when administrators tell me that, hey, we need to make sure we pay attention to things like COVID actions, make sure our students we're focusing on providing information to students as far as getting them up to speed in any kind of academic loss, then adding on more policies and changes is going to create more chaos. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure we have a clear, aligned plan. We do have some key assumptions here when it comes to grading policies. We make sure we're communicating change internally and externally. Make sure we're aligning grading practices for all students, and then improving what it means to actually grade in our institutions. None of these things are static. They all require increasing conversations and inputs. going back to the supporting diverse learning communities. When we look at one area that conversations had with Dr. Beeler are, how do we look at our socioeconomics? Okay, so when we look at our student body, it hovers between 72 to 75% social and economic disadvantage. When we have such a high number, we want to make sure that we're creating the right tools for them, the right bicycles for them to ride on their journey, right? Does it no good to just create one bicycle for all? Make sense? So we look at two areas of concern. One, community short-term social economics. Just to be clear, both of these things are shovel-ready or shelf-ready things that the district's already working on. We're just pulling them off the shelf and adding some more follow-up and trying to implement them into the school. So the first one is revitalizing previous efforts to identify students who remain interested in communicating their post-graduation efforts. I think this is key and vitally important. We had our English department previously work on this organically and created a small newsletter. They did this for about a year and a half. It seemed pretty exciting. We got to get some good information, good feedback. I don't know if you've seen this. I'll try to share it with you. And then that effort kind of fell off because I'm not really sure. I don't understand those rationales for why a project begins and then why it ends. I'm assuming people got other responsibilities. So we're going to try to revitalize that. And we're going to try to connect with those students who graduate out here, so get good, clear data points, some good narratives to figure out how we can improve the school, in a systematic way. So nothing's better for any kind of institution to see what are we producing, how are we communicating what we produce, and then evaluating from their perspective what we can do just a little bit better. A little bit of critique from them. I think that's great. Reason why we're talking about this is because the journey, we have this in our mission statement. This comes straight from our mission statement. The journey of a warrior represents the skills and mindsets we believe will prepare every student to be active contributors to the Salmaker community and beyond. So all we're doing is we're taking what our mission is and we're looking at it through a DEI lens. When we look at this, this is what it means to me. Every child matters from the cradle to the career. We need to make sure we're paying attention when they get past that middle point of the high school graduation. That's all we're doing. We're taking one more step. Building capacity. You'll hear me say this a lot. So how do we support diverse learning communities by building capacity? We increase student access. One of the areas is A4LE. Mark works with, or is familiar with A4LE. If you're interested in knowing more about it, he knows more about this than me. I just work on their JEDI committee. It's their Justice, Equity, and Diversity and Inclusion Committee. We assist them in these larger kind of discussions so that they're building better facilities in understanding more equitable outcomes for their building of projects like, for example, the project we're going to build over here. We're going to do more mentoring and achievement for regional and local students. We did a test case last year. We worked with a couple of students, one in particular, we provided them with increased mentoring, linking them with the careers that they wanted to get to, rather than the things that we had in here just for their employment. For example, this specific student wanted to move towards a career in law. So we went to find some of the best lawyers in the region. We connected that student with those attorneys. They met with them. We then talked about their game plan, mapped out their more career opportunities, opened up a lot of doors, networks. Then we brought them back here, created a more local connection with our judges here. And we're going to continue to do that in a more robust way. How does this matter? It's because we're building capacity for individual students' achievement. And then in addition, we're going to look at how can we increase college writing. When they apply for a job, they're going to need to write. When they apply for college, they're going to need to write. And so I'm going to try to look and see how we can work on those specific skill sets, increasing their college writing. Because the next thing is, once they do that, I think they're going to be committed to continue to help us write about their journey. If we can connect with them now while they're here in the school, they're more likely to work with us as they graduate. That's the theory. I think that's a good practice. And we haven't tested it yet, but we're gonna try. Also, we need to understand a few things. We need to understand those students' struggles. And hopefully we'll get them to communicate it back to us if we've already worked with them to get to them to where they need to be. These are gonna help us with some additional data points. We'll add to the DEI report. And then hopefully we'll have some implementable processes to change in the short term. Okay. The second thing is more long-term socioeconomics. This is, this does, Bob says, hey, you got a little too much philosophical stuff in here. And I say, I agree, because some of this does have some philosophy. Some of this takes some thinking. How are we connecting some dots? So I look at, I have some frequent conversations with people in our business office, and they can help me connect some dots. And that's all this is. What we're trying to do is look at socioeconomics in the short term and in the long term in our community. And one of the areas that we do exceptionally well is we do that in all these other areas. I'll give you an example of the food program, right? When we open that up for all students. That's an amazing program. We looked at seeing how can this have an impact in the long term, because the long-term impact is students are getting access to greater quality food, and therefore they don't have any other kind of stressors, right? We're reducing stressors in their lives. Same thing is here. We already have, what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try to familiarize all students with the hiring process. This takes time, right? We're gonna look at student state employment tiers when their actual clock begins. If anybody works in the district, they understand, and I think I talked to Lloyd about this a little bit. A clock begins when you start employment in the school or for the state. If your clock starts earlier, you get greater access to things later on in life. So we want to make sure we pay attention to that. This is a social economic concern for our entire community. And then finally, making sure if we hire every single student, we know we're going to have high diversity because we already have the high diversity here. Right? We're going to live that DEI dream. And then we can look at student to teacher pathways. If we already have programs in place, we can start looking at how can we encourage students to become teachers and reflect the values of this institution. And then finally, Bob always talks to me and he says, we're gonna hire the best people. And I think we do. And we gotta put our money where the mouth is and hire the best people, which are our students. Okay, why do we look at this again? We're using the same thing, the journey of a warrior, and we're trying to connect the school to the community in these very holistic ways. And all these different components that put influences on the school, we're trying to interconnect with. So how do we build these long-term socioeconomic capacities? One, we need to recognize the value of work. I think we already do that. We do exceptionally with this. And we need to make sure our current practices, we're doing things, we're hiring people in the business program. Right, Levi, help me out. We're doing, what else are we doing? We're doing the lifeguards, athletic program, we hire for
Streaming media.
streaming media. Yeah, we already have a lot of these things in place. And so we know how to do this. All this is building capacity, right? Essentially finding out where students are on the margins of those hiring practices is essentially all we're trying to do. Essentially, when we talk to the students who are working here, they have a high satisfaction with working here. Even the students that work over the summer, I went and talked to them, super high satisfaction. They're proud to work here, exceptionally proud. So building pride in the school. Find other areas. We know we have students down there doing the lobbying effort right now. That's potentially a touch point for hiring students to come whenever they're doing work for the school. We should take a look at it. Maybe it doesn't work in all instances. You probably might know areas where students are working and doing these kind of things, and we can potentially sit down and say, how can we make this a little more robust? We have mentoring programs that are going to get built up. I think that was presented last month through the SEL. And then we have some hospitality stuff that I'm going to try to work on with Dr. Feeler and our teams with SGC to try to kind of build that program. It's been sitting there for a while. And I think we can kind of get that and get people to understand the jobs that are in the region. Mark does this well with the CASE program, so potentially building out mentoring with CASE manufacturing, et cetera. And then we have the SAMI program, kind of building up more robust with Aaron Strauss. Essentially, as we're doing, trying to connect dots, doing things we already do, building that capacity, essentially touching every single student's life. All right, any questions on that? Kind of fast, get to the budget presentation, Dale. Yeah, there are some things here. There's some hard, heavy lifts here. Things like when I talked to the team in the business office, Sarah specifically said, "Don't be giving me more work, Justin." Right? And she was like, "No." But I think at the end of the day, if there's a little bit more understanding how can we move this a little bit more, those are good conversations we need to have. Okay. Now for your time. Any questions?
I'm glad you recognize that, Karen's anxiously waiting to go over her portion. And I appreciate the fact that you rushed through that. But that topic really can't be rushed through. We need to really come back to all of the topics you touched on, because DEI is that important.
Yeah.
We need to keep talking about this.
I
And
agree.
you're right, you touched on it early in the presentation, that some of these topics are hard conversations to have.
Yeah.
We need to have those. We do. I'm sure a lot of you know that I've been stressing on this for years. I've been on this board almost 7 years. And I'm still waiting for some of this stuff to happen. Still waiting. And I've been a lifelong resident, alumni. 45 years old. I'm still waiting for some of this stuff to happen. Can't happen soon enough, and I'm glad you're working on it. It sounds like you're advocating for more work for yourself, but I just hope we can finish those pathways. I hope we can go down all those different roads and get a conclusion. Because I really want to see what happens when we really start tracking these students 4 and 5 years out after graduation.
Yes.
I really can't wait to see what happens when we start getting these reports back that say, this is what the reality is. This is what the numbers show us. And I think about, when you talk about that, I also think about even with our IDP, how the district is supposed to be reporting back to the Seneca Nation, parents of Native children, the board, about what's going on even with the IDP and the enormous amount of impact they get. That's supposed to be an annual presentation, but it ties right in directly with what you're doing with DEI. I love it.
There is.
I can't wait to see all of this stuff get completed and come back to us. I can't wait for all these presentations to come in.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
I'll throw some shows on it.
Yeah. We're getting in the habit where we're getting these presentations, and we're getting in the habit where we're actually going to start following through with some of these presentations. I can't wait for our next reading department presentation. I can't wait for all these presentations to come back to us, so we actually get resolve on these things. As a board, we're not left hanging and left in the dark, and we know what's going on. I love it. I love where this is going.
Well,
I can't wait to see this over the years to come.
I know we just, Penny was at a presentation when we talked about BOCES, and we're, from that presentation, I learned a few things. And that is that, one, Salamanca is doing some amazing things with their students. In ways that other districts look at us and say, wow, we don't have that story in our district. Now, we're lucky because we have a high diversity district. So of course, we're working on a lot of different things. Students have come from different backgrounds. So of course, we're gonna have different stories coming from different directions. However, one of the things that was great is we had Fillmore School, which has 4% diversity. And they were doing some amazing things too. And they wanted to tell us, and from those stories, I learned an awful lot, and I took some of their information back and said, hey, you know what, I could do that. That doesn't seem too hard, right? So we're going to work with Fillmore. By the way, he's a former Salamanca grad. Yeah, I went to school with his older brother, Doc Talbot. Yeah, I love Dave Talbot. I'll tell you some stories, but not in here. But he was so excited when we were able, 2 Salamanca people were up there presenting on the same topic, and people were very enthused about it. And it made me excited as well. And hopefully Penny was excited when we were up there. But my point isn't that there was necessarily 2 people from Salamanca. My point is that we can make these small connections with them, and our students can now connect with some students that I didn't know were actually working on this stuff. And they can help each other understand it, because usually peer-to-peer works very well. You know, I can be up there and tell somebody all day, I don't know if you guys are all teachers. I can teach a student all day, Chris, right? And then a student comes along and just boils it down for them and they get it. So that's learning something new every single day through these small connections. And personally, I still don't know what BOCES does, Dale, so I need to sit down.
It's an octopus, I tell you this, different tentacles.
I found one tentacle and I'm delighted, so.
Yeah, great.
All right, now I bring it
Don't be bad, I don't know what BOCES does either. Thank you for this.
All right.
That's appreciated, thank you.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
job.
Anybody else? Questions, comments?
I really like the part where trying to get students to become teachers. I think that's a great metric.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would be curious to see that kind of tracking.
well, interestingly enough, you know, Bob, I don't want to steal Bob's line, so there's something that's out there that's like that. So I think he's going to, I don't know, maybe Mark knows, I don't want to steal anything. But
Teacher program?
yeah,
Yep, there's a few things. We're not ready for prime time just yet.
Yeah.
That'll come up in a future presentation.
Yeah, I'm always constantly advocating, anybody who will listen, become a teacher, become a teacher.
Yeah.
You know, nobody listens to me anyway, but I at least say that. All right. Anything else? Up next is the budget presentation. I'm not gonna say this was the most important meeting or issue tonight, but definitely top 5 here.
All right.
There you go.
For your 5 topics.
it's number one. It's number one in our heart.
Can you hook me up? All right, so this is my first go around. Usually I'm here 5 or 6 times by now. These are a whole lot different under this whole COVID world and all that good stuff. It's all for technical.
Okay.
All right, ready? Okay. So, where am I pointing at here? Right, there we go. Okay, so to begin with, tax levy. Everybody's always, you know, are taxes going up? Are taxes going up? And absolutely not. We're gonna remain flat at $250,000. And if you follow through the tax cap calculation, which I won't make you do, because it's as boring can be, and I say that being an accountant. We could raise our taxes up to 3.39%, which is our 2% tax cap levy, using the formula. Thank you, Lynn. 3% for us with the $250,000 levy is $8,471. We're not gonna do that. So we're just gonna stay at $250,000 for the year, once again. So that will be levy coming out in October. And so with that, here's our projected revenues from 22-23 comparing to current year. The 250-550 includes $200 for a pilot that we have for the Seven Dragons restaurant downtown, and $350 for fees and interest on late payments for taxes. Because believe it or not, even the taxes being, I think our lowest tax bill is 16 cents. We still get people that pay their taxes late. So it actually costs them more to mail the check in or whatever than their tax bill is, which is crazy, but we have to assess it. Miscellaneous is a little bit an increase of 12%. That includes all kinds of stuff. It includes tuition from our local non-resident students. It includes tuition from our foster students. It includes BOCES rentals of space, interest, earnings, Medicaid reimbursements for our Medicaid eligible students, and indirect costs. That also includes some costs that we charge to the county for taking care of the preschool, or not preschool, but the CPSE, the 3 and under children that have special needs. So that I'm projecting to increase about 12%. Fund balance and reserves use you'll see is a decrease of 11%, and that's primarily because of the ARP and CARES and SURSA and all that good funding that we got, that $7.6 million, because part of that is going to take care of Marcy's technology needs. So that's the reason in the decrease in the reserves. Indigenous tuition and transportation contracts, as you can see, is a huge increase in 55%. The reason that is because the more our overall budget increases and the number of students increases, that tuition and transportation cost number or revenue number increases. So because of the number of Indigenous students we have has increased a little bit, and because our budget overall has increased tremendously, our revenue from the tuition and transportation contracts is also up. Because that's up, and because if we go to the bottom one, state aid is up by 7%, that's an increase in our foundation, primarily in our foundation aid. With those two, the Indigenous tuition, transportation, and state aid increasing, we can decrease our need to use our impact aid. So we were at 12.2 million last year, we're only looking at 6.3 this year. So the budget this year right now, this is not by any means final, is at 47,433,891. We are still in the drafting review stage of everything that's been submitted. Reviewing, I sent some stuff out to the principals last week or week before last, before I went on vacation, asking for justification for certain line items. So we're getting those in, and those will be reviewed this week. And there's also some BOCES costs. Marcy never stops with technology, so we're constantly adding things. I'm just pointing out on you.
That's all right, that's all right.
We're constantly adding, different programs for teachers and different things like that. So our BOCES number is constantly changing. So I'm trying to keep up with that one. As far as positions, we're looking at 7 retirements, 5 of them from Prospect, a reading teacher, 2 TAs, UPK teacher, and librarian, and 2 from the high school, 1 in science and 1 business teacher. New positions that have been pre-approved, so to speak, are a counselor for Indigenous students, a math coach, 2 math specialists, and 2 reading specialists. Those 4 specialists are all for Prospect. Computer teacher for Seneca, a behavioral specialist district-wide, and a lunch monitor for Prospect. Other potential positions that are still being evaluated based on some justifications coming in from the principals are several TAs. I think it's 4 or 5 that have been requested, and a special ed teacher and a special ed TA. We're waiting on Jerry to finish up all his CSEs to let us know if we're going to need those 2 or not. An English teacher at the high school and an MTSS coordinator also at the high school. So those are the position changes that we're looking at from this current year to next year. What don't we know? Who knows what's going on with coronavirus? Are we going to be here the rest of the year, or is some other new thing going to uptick and we go back to virtual? Who knows? I did see a thing the other day on Facebook where China shut down the city of like 8 or 9 million because of an uptick in coronavirus. So who knows what's going to happen here? As usual, enrollment fluctuations, we don't know. They change on a daily basis. Can't even say, on a week-to-week basis because it's daily. We have, for instance, I want to say 4 weeks ago, we had 5 kids come in one day, and a week and a half later, they were gone. Special ed cost fluctuations, and it changes, and that's also almost on a day-to-day basis as kids are coming in and kids are leaving the district or going from a BOCES program to the district program or from a district program to a BOCES program. Those costs are fluctuating. Dale just keeps sending them on over to us. So those are really the 3 main unknown things that we can't really, if we could stop at a period in time, like right now, today, saying this is it, no more changes, we still are not going to get caught up with the BOCES billing for a month or so, maybe even longer, because the changes just take so long to go down through the channels. So where are we on the expenditure side? Instructional is an increase of 6%, primarily from contractual wage increases and additional staffing. Benefits are up 22%, and you're like, oh my gosh, 22% in benefits. Well, let me tell you this. health insurance alone is taking a 10% increase this year because of the huge costs that are being incurred with our health insurance plan. We are in a consortium with CA BOCES. So there's 22, I think there's 22 of the 23 districts are in that consortium. And these costs are much lower than we could get if we go out to the market. But even with that, we're still looking at a 10% increase. That's huge. Other benefit increases are the inclusion of the new retirement award that was included in all of the contracts with those folks that retired. It's $165,000 that'll be paid out this year for that, with that retirement award. Also, those retirees, a lot of them have a lot of unused time that's also being paid out. Both of those are 1/3. That 165 is 1/3 of the cost of the retirement plan because it's paid out over the course of 3 years. So that will, rise and fall as the number of retirees increases and decreases throughout the years, and depending on how long they've been here. A lot of our staff right now, we're really kind of split. Our staff is either really new or, don't take this the wrong way, really old. Seasoned. They're veterans or they're rookies. That in between is few and far between. So that's why the benefits are really increasing. You're looking at facilities and you're like, oh my gosh, 30% increase in facilities. What happened? Well, we added Vets Park. Is that 30%? Absolutely not. It is some of it. If anybody saw the rants going on Facebook about the increase in electric and water, that's part of it. Gas bills, that's part of it. I know me personally, my gas bill went up $40 and I'm on the balance plan, and that wasn't just in 1 month. So I can't wait to see what it is next month. But the district bills have increased for utilities as well. But the big thing in facilities that they've requested is to replace 3 of 15 water pumps, and that's going to be a cost of about $180,000. They're also looking at replacing all the basketball hoops in the main gym because they're being continuously fixed and jerry-rigged to make sure that they're safe. So we want to get those replaced because they're, we believe, almost the original ones. Also, there are 3 new cleaners on top of salary increases across the board. And the majority of the staffing that received those increases were in facilities and in transportation. Cost of electric, and the maintenance on the new phone and the new security systems are also quite high. So that's really making up the 30% increase in facilities. In addition to a little bit of extra cost, obviously, with utilities and things like that over at that part. Debt service is increasing because we have new debt for phase 3.2, 3.1, which was the Prospect project. So there's new debt there, and we're also anticipating pulling a ban in, which is a bond anticipation note, and then bonding for phase 3.4, which is the 3.3, which is the Prospect edition. So that's why debt service is going up. Administration goes up 3%. That's primarily due to the addition of a staff member in there, and might even be 2 in there. Transportation, small increase, the number of buses decreased, but the number of staffing increased, and it just kind of evened out there. Transfers are down $4.7 million because last year we had a $5 million transfer to capital fund to cover some of the costs on 3.2 project, but this year we do not. That $300,000 is $250 for food services and $50,000 for the summer special education programming. The reason for the food services thing, and I know Gary's thinking about it here, and you always said that food services made money. Yeah, not anymore. And we knew that the new program, doing our own scratch cooking, et cetera, was going to be more expensive. It's more labor intensive, so there's many more staff members in there. And also buying fresh food is way more expensive than buying canned and frozen. Then top that off with, you can't find anything because there's food chain supply issues. So that's pushing up costs as well. So that's what we're looking at for a total budget is $47.4 million. Questions?
Anybody have any questions?
I just think it's very important that we are doing the vegetables, the fresh vegetables with these kids, because they're not getting it probably at home. So I'm glad to hear that we are.
Yeah, and one of the other things I found out just last week, I got an email while I was on that, right now, even if we were not on the CEP program, every student in New York State, and it might even be the entire country, receives free food. That's going away at the end of this year. So we'll be back on the CEP program, so we're still good for that for another year, and then I have to next April of 2 more years. So April of 24, I need to reapply for CEP. So we're good for 2 more years. Our students in our district will still receive free meals next year. But other schools that are not CEP eligible and are not, have not applied for CEP, they'll have to go back to the free, reduced, and then paid lunch program. That's what it's looking like right now. There is a lot of people pushing and lobbying, so forth, to see if that can change, but right now it's not. Our reimbursement rates are also going to decrease because they had given us extra money because of COVID and that. So that 250 is really going to be needed to foot the bill for the program session.
Anything else? All right, so we're gonna do this again in 2
Yep.
weeks?
Yep.
Right.
I know you'll be eagerly waiting.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Next, we got a little impromptu. We're gonna invite down, Mr. Adam Bennett, and he's got one of his players up there, can't see. We just want to have a little, quick recognition here for our boys basketball team, kind of a send off. Mr. Bennett, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I just, on behalf of our team, and I apologize that Moore can't be here, but obviously we're leaving Thursday morning for Glens Falls and the state Final Four, so they're taking care of schoolwork. Tonight, Lucas stayed back to represent our players. We want to thank everybody, the board, administration, the community, our students for the support. It's been overwhelming. It's been unbelievable. The fans that have been at the games at JCC and Buff State, we had more fans at Buffalo State than really any team in Section 6. And our players are so appreciative. They've been working really hard to make everybody proud. And we're excited about the opportunity this weekend. So we just wanted to thank everybody for that opportunity. Thank you guys.
Congratulate you guys on the Section 6 Class C championship and also winning the Far West Regional. And good luck this weekend. Good luck Friday and good luck Saturday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, communications, next up, public communications and Title VI Parent Advisory Committee. Do we have any?
No one signed up.
Somebody signed up? Okay. All right, central office.
Yeah, anybody that's district employee that's sent me any emails or sent me hard copy stuff, my inbox is literally like this high. So I got through as much as I could today. I was supposed to be back yesterday, but my flight was delayed. So I hope they have everything caught up with all my signing and all that kind of stuff tomorrow. So, other than that, oh my gosh, working on a grant application for some archival stuff for our records. Working on, we have a food service administrative review going on. I've got paperwork to do or assistance with Kristen for the UPK grant and all the title grant audits. I think those are the major things that I've got going on right now. Other than that, you know, it's another day of paradise.
You gonna wait for, or you going now, Mark?
I can go now. Thank you. This has been an exceptionally busy week with our athletic and extracurricular events. I just wanted to extend some congratulations and best wishes to, we just saw our boys basketball team as they compete in the state Final Four championships. Also to our archery team as they travel to Syracuse, to our Odyssey of the Mind team as they travel to Binghamton. I'd also like to congratulate Alicia Fisk and Tristan Doohan on great performances at the New York State DECA Conference this past weekend. And to Quentin Jones, who finished third in the Section 6 All-Star team in the New York State Bowling Championship this past weekend. Also, to echo the sentiments of Mr. John, a happy birthday to our board president, Teresa. You'll see we have cupcakes to celebrate. She mentioned that last month, but she's not here to enjoy, so we might still have cupcakes.
Oh, absolutely.
There we go. On the academic side, you'll hear another update the next time we get together, but work toward the reading program and math program improvements, as well as our focus on instruction continues. Last month, a team traveled to the High Reliability School Summit, and we have been meeting at least half a day every week since then to digest that information that was presented and adapt our processes at focusing on instruction and culture building within the school district to align with some of the things that we learned. So many times we go to conferences and, you know, it's either to prove or improve, right? To prove that what we're doing is right, or to improve what we are can be doing. In many cases at this particular summit, we saw that what we were doing was on the right track, but there were also some significant methods and things that we could do to improve across the board. We're looking forward to presenting that in the very near future. Thank you.
All right, as I've done before, as custom and tradition now, I want to hear from our principals. Mr. Seabird, what do you got for us?
Honestly, since we did go to San Antonio to the High Reliability Schools, came back after the spring break or the February break. We instituted some new changes, expectations, I guess, at the high school. And it was a little challenging at first, but I think we kind of hit our stride. I think we've seen a lot of improvements over the last 2 weeks across the board. So that's been extremely exciting. Obviously, with Quentin going to States was awesome. The boys basketball team, following them has been phenomenal. Our win last week. It's had a lot of successes. We just want to keep the ball rolling in that direction.
Ms. Beaver?
Hi, how are you? Same thing I'm gonna echo about the conference that we went to in San Antonio, the High Reliability Schools. It was excellent. I took away so many valuable things from the conference. My faculty meeting in the beginning of the month was all aligned to what I took away from that conference, and I felt like it really helped build and improve the direction of the culture that we want to go in our building. So I feel like staff are kind of on board and we're excited and we're headed in the right direction. I did just get back from an ITEEA conference in Orlando. I've learned some really incredible things on how to incorporate STEAM better into our core curriculum, the ELA math. I'm really excited about that. Really proud of our teachers. They're working really hard. They're constantly focused, dedicated to the instruction of students. That's great. I'm excited and happy to be awarded.
Thank you. Well,
I have to echo the High Reliability Schools was phenomenal. It was just, it really rejuvenated me and really helped me just say, you know, what we're focusing on, we're doing well. And to really just keep focused on sometimes less, so we can do those few things better. Sometimes when I try to focus on too many things, I can't do everything as well. But if I really target things more specifically, I can support and just see more growth. Having a lot of great conversations around our student growth. We're seeing our students really start to flourish and grow. So during our MTSS meetings, there's a lot of the conversations that are occurring is the light bulb has come on and you're seeing a lot of that growth. We did start after school program for second and third graders. We did start with by invitation only to targeted students so that they can get more reading infused after school. If I had had more adults, we would have opened it up more, but we really just had to be very targeted with that.
The kids seem to be really enjoying it. They're rotating through a lot of reading activities. So I don't feel like they're like, oh, it's another hour of reading. They feel like it's fun and we're seeing the benefits of that already. The kids are happy to come to school every day. The cafeteria, the meals have been phenomenal this year. The kids will be excited. We have had some pizza days now. So I know that was one of our big things that they've had that. And it's just great to see, like today, the kids had fresh grapes and cut up oranges as part of their lunch. Last week, they had cut up red and green peppers and fresh cucumber. And the kids are trying it out and it's just really great to see. They did start like little mini bento lunch boxes for the kids, and those have become a really big hit. So they're enjoying the cheese and turkey, and it's almost like lunch bowls for kids right from their own cafeteria. So just a lot of really great things going on. And we're doing March Madness right now around reading books. And the kids are super excited about getting their points. As a building, they earned books last week because they hit their 500-point target with March Madness. And we're continuing that with a popcorn party if we reach the next school. So targeting their reading in school, and then they get bonus points for the basketball Friday.
Thank you. Boyd, we haven't seen you in a while or heard from you.
Hello.
What do you got for us?
I'll just jump in and say, a big part of what I do is observations in all buildings. And I just want to say it's incredible to be a Warrior. It is. All the accolades that the kids are bringing home, you can feel that in the hallways. And you can kind of see it in the staff as well. The chin's up and we're proud of our students. So we'll start out there and then I'll just jump in and send some thank you to Transportation Department that have been very flexible with the students that I work with at the Warrior Academy, and food service as well, being able to accommodate students that are in session and out of session e-learning. And then I'll jump to my e-learners and I'll just say, they're incredible. I think about myself as an adult at times. It's hard for myself to get motivated or do certain things. And we have many students that are logging on and getting their work done, oftentimes without maybe mom or dad at home because they're at work, but they've chosen the virtual world and that's where they're at and they're doing a fantastic job. And then on the opposite side of that, we've had a couple that struggled and we're really plugging away to try and make sure they are getting online and learning, working with the parents so that the parents are on board. I had one student that transitioned back and I ran into the student twice in the hallways now. And both times it's just been a delight to hear that they're being successful here back at Salamanca as well. So that's where I'm at, proud to be a Warrior, and that's what I have.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Well, all the rest of you, I'm gonna put you on the spot next time, or I'll have T-Ray put you on the spot. All right, let's move on to our Board of Education message. And Jess, what do you got for us?
Just the same sentiments about congratulating our various teams that are representing Salamanca. Everything from basketball to DECA, OM, our bowling. It's just really great to see all of that. It's a great moment, you know. I mean, I'm from this school and it's like, it's amazing. So, congrats. My message.
Brad?
Happy birthday to Teresa, and I just want to wish the best of luck for everybody. I'm heading out Friday morning, hopefully not coming home till Sunday morning. Pretty stoked, my daughter's stoked.
Dale?
I'd just like to say, congrats to all the students that are representing Salamanca at the sectional, regional, and state level this year. It's nice to see, and you guys are true warriors. Put the good work to push it ahead.
Thank you. Sue?
I just can't get over all the different clubs and things that are going, athletics that are going to Albany this weekend. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I couldn't believe so many were so active, and so I'm very pleased about that. And I think we were talking about sending people to different conferences and things like that. I think that is so important. The networking alone is worth sending these representatives from Salamanca School to the different conferences you are going. I think it's very important for you and it's important to our school.
Yeah, lots going on, tons going on. Happy birthday to T-Ray. She shares her birthday with my mother. Happy birthday, Mom. Big day. I did want to share, Gail, you mentioned that about Pizza Friday. Past couple weeks, we've been in the habit where we've been going over on Friday night to get the casino buffet. So Friday night buffet. Last week, we asked our little one, Lainey, you know what today is, right? It's Friday. She says, yeah, it's Pizza Friday. No, it's buffet Friday. Yeah, so, yeah. Of course, congratulations to everybody who's competing and doing well in our district. Mark read off a pretty long list there, a lot to be proud of. So yeah, congratulations, good luck to everybody. I was talking with my wife and we were kind of thinking about an itinerary this weekend. You know, there was, when we first started talking, all right, boys basketball Friday, 2:45. Well, then we got two of our alumni playing in a D1 lacrosse game on Saturday in Albany, which is right down the road from Glens Falls. Keelan Seneca and Amos Whitcomb are both heavily involved players, but at the Albany men's lacrosse game, they're hosting Binghamton Saturday at 1 o'clock in Albany. And then we plan on going back up to Glens Falls Saturday night. I guess there's going to be a game at 7 even, so, you know. And then Sunday coming home, my daughter who goes to Albany is playing club lacrosse in Cornell. So we're kind of thinking of a long sports packed weekend here to all support and represent for Salamanca. Great district. So many other things going on. I love that professional development piece. You know, you're right, Sue. It is so important that we send people out and do this networking, but it's also important that we get all of that back here. I love that professional development piece that you're talking about, Justin. You know, the DEI component is so important. Penny, help us out. Put it together. But yeah, it's great that all of these initiatives are, you know, starting to get some light on them. We're starting to move forward with them. Can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to see where we go.
So the lobbyists are down there too.
Right. Yep. And just what Mr. Shaft said, our junior lobbyists are currently in Washington DC lobbying for our district. They will likely have a presentation themselves at an upcoming board meeting. So we did want to thank you for the reminder there.
Between the kids and Bob, they've all been sending pictures throughout the day and throughout the day so far. So we've been posting those to our social media and tagging this and other people in them. So
Awesome.
awesome. Good
Yeah,
response.
let's look for a presentation and next working. You got it. Not from Bob, from the kids.
Absolutely.
All right. That's all I had. So let's move on to the next item is the consent agenda. So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion. Second by Brad. Second by Dale. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. All right, nothing on old business, new business. Item A, voter registration day rescheduling. So I'll read this here. Be resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, whereas personal registration of voters is required pursuant to the requirements of section 2606 of the New York State Education Law. Now be it resolved that the registration date for the school district budget vote and board member election to be held on Tuesday, May 17, 2022, be and is hereby is rescheduled from April 18, 2022 to May 9, 2022, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to be held in the district clerk's office, which is located inside the Westgate Hotel, 734 Broad Street, room 105, Salamanca, New York. A register containing names of registered voters will be available upon request to taxpayers within this district between the hours of 8 a.m. prevailing time and 3 p.m. prevailing time from May 10, 2022 to May 17, 2022, exclusive of Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays at the office of the district clerk. Need a motion? Motion.
Second.
Motion by Dale, second by Sue, and I do have an issue with this resolution. It specifically states that the Register containing names of registered voters will be available upon request to taxpayers within this district. We all know there's more than just taxpayers in this district. So I'm looking to revise this resolution to state that it is coincides with what we look at for our qualified voters.
I agree. Not change the taxpayers to qualified voters. Did I change that?
Yeah, if that's the definition we want to use. Members of the Seneca Nation do not pay that or pay tax in the district. So I wanted to see that change.
Motion is amended.
Sue? Okay, motion is amended by Dale, seconded by Sue. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, motion carries. All right, next up, the district HAACP plan, hazard analysis and critical control points. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the Salamanca City Central School District Board of Education approves the district school food services safety program hazard analysis and critical control points plan effective March 15, 2022. Need a motion? Motion by Brad.
Second.
Second by Dale. Any questions?
I have a question. It pertains to the purchasing. I know that we did switch the food service program. But if you go on to the page 3 of the attachment, talks about the purchasing. It's going to be done through BOCES and or Premier Omnia Co-op. Can I get some more background information on how that works between those two entities?
Because everything is all bid out through BOCES or Omnia, and we don't have to go through that entire process of bidding out everything.
So is that the same way that it was under the, was it Personal Touch, prior food service?
They bid out everything within
Through the
their
same
program.
two?
No,
No. Just curious on that one.
what's the concern?
No, I was just wondering, how the procurement and or the differences between the previous health and then the new program. So just curiosity. And I also see on there, there's an addition to the updates for the FDA and allergens. That sesame was just released as another common allergen, so there are 9. I just wanted to put on there on a note, looking forward, entertaining gluten as another allergen. It's not one of the big allergens, but it is listed for the FDA for 2017. So I would just like to make note of that and explore that a bit more with our nutritional needs, the student body. That's all.
Thank you, Jess. Any other questions or comments?
Brad early motion.
Motion by Brad, second by Dale. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Okay, next up, personnel consent agenda. We have personnel action. And we have some resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, appointments, substitutes, volunteer, athletics, co-curriculars. Need a motion to approve the personnel action.
Second.
Motion by Rad, second by Sue. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. And do we have anybody to introduce?
Alicia Ralph is on.
I'll introduce Lisa Ralph. She's going to be moving into our 5th grade classroom. She brings with her several years of experience in 5th grade, as well as a specialized reading instruction with strong classroom management and content knowledge. She has worked as a reading specialist for Salamanca City Central School for the past 1.5 years. During this time, she's built some strong relationships with her students and colleagues. Her biggest strength will be her ability to implement a successful Tier 2 model of instruction in her classroom with small group rotations and personalized learning. We are really happy to be able to create a smooth transition for our 5th grade students while providing them with a familiar face to finish out the school year. So welcome to 5th grade, Alicia.
Did you prepare a speech?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Appreciate the opportunity to move back into the classroom. I really miss being with, my whole group of kids all the time. So I'm excited to make a difference in the classroom now.
Thank you.
We, the others are some part-time security guards. We do, we can mention Breezy Kraus. I don't know if you, Sievers will do an introduction, even though she's not here.
So very happy to introduce Brianne Kraus, also known as Breezy, as our newest member of our high school faculty. Breezy is a 2012 graduate of SHS and is being appointed as the Seneca Language Teacher Assistant. Her command of the Seneca language and understanding of Seneca culture and history will be a phenomenal asset to our students in the district. She has spent most of her time after graduation promoting Seneca language, culture, and history at the Seneca Nation of Indians Allegheny Community Center and also the Seneca Iroquois National Museum, where she was a cultural specialist. Breezy has created a vast connection of resources in and around the Salamanca community, and that will be a great benefit as we expand the Seneca program. Breezy's goal, page on Mr. Schapp and Mr. John, I'm sure you're going to talk about this as well, is to continue her education and receive her teaching degree. But hopefully, at some point in time, she'll be one of our Seneca language teachers. So we're happy to have her and welcome Breezy.
Awesome. Welcome to all and congratulations to all of us. All right, next up was board information, reports and discussion, transportation report, Indigenous Education Committee meeting minutes, our enrollment, our annual budget booklet, and upcoming events. I did want to take a moment to get a clarification on item B, the Indigenous Education Committee meeting minutes. Reading through these minutes, it seems like there's a little bit of confusion, and I was looking for clarity on item 2.02 meeting schedule for the remainder of the 21-22 school year. It doesn't seem like there was an outcome discussed on changing the dates, and I'm wondering where we are with that.
So there was discussion both at the Indigenous Education Committee and then at the subsequent Type 6. I rely on you a little bit, Mr. Schapp, if you were both with me, just to make sure we're on the same page. We brainstormed several different options. We understand the goal is to get or have the opportunity for, particularly for the Title VI members, to be able to attend the IDC. Currently, they're unable to attend because of the time that it's scheduled, which is earlier in the day. Many of them work until 5 or 5:30. So there was conversations about combining the two committees. I don't know as though we actually came up with a definitive answer. Is that safe to say?
I think the closest we came to was some kind of overlap time.
Basically the same night, but they were going to see what we could do to overlap. I think we recognized that I don't think either group wanted to be there 2 times if in all reality, the goals of both organizations are the same, which is to improve Indigenous education for our Indigenous students. And we recognize also that much of the participation that happens at Title VI is should be contributing to the IDC, and that it goes the other way. So I believe there's going to be a proposal. There were also some pieces that we had to change the IPP because that was identified in there as well. So Mr. Breinstein, I believe, is going to look to put those meetings together, or at least have them, back to back around the 5:30 or 6 o'clock start time, so that everyone who wants to attend can attend.
And the final component was more of a logistical thing for recording the specific times.
Right. Yeah, because it is a formal meeting. So, and both Dale and I are on the IEC committee as board members, and I'm sorry, Jess and Dale is an alternate. But this was something that none of us were able to attend the meeting. But that's part of the reason why, and I also sit on the Title VI committee, and also it's a concern of mine. I haven't been able to attend the IEC meetings for several months because it is at 4 o'clock, and I do have to work. So it's been an inconvenience for me to not even be able to get to the IEC meetings. And as evidenced by the other two board members who are on the committee, we are not able to make it there. So also as Indigenous parent of the district, it's a formal request that we move these times to suit our needs. Whether it's all on the same night, I'm not opposed to that, or whether we go with 2 different nights. But I think for the next board meeting, we need to come up with a resolution on changing the dates, because it is part of the IPP. The IPP specifically states the dates and times and locations. So I feel like we need to have this revision ready to go for the next board meeting. Again, I think it's too important to not be able to attend these meetings, but unfortunately, we have to work. So my recommendation is that we all sit down and discuss this rather quickly to come up with a new date and time. And if it happens to be on the same night, I'm not opposed to that. But it needs to work. It really needs to work for the parents of this district. Because that's one of the big key, I looked at the IEC attendance. There's no parents there. We're district staff and 2 members of the Seneca Nation staff. Where's the parents? That's the biggest part of this, is that it's for the parents to attend so they can advocate for their children. And we're not meeting that goal of this. We're not meeting the obligation. We're not giving the parents the opportunity to attend these meetings, which is clearly spelled out in the IPP. So I believe we need to, as a board, accept a new amendment to this IPP at our next board meeting to allow for this change. So that's what I would look at as task is Dr. Wheeler and of course, Superintendent Bridenstine. I'd ask that you guys formally bring this to us at the next board meeting.
Consider it done. It's on that.
Think 5:30 or 6 o'clock would be better.
Honestly, 5:30 or 6 is probably appropriate. That way we can at least have more meetings, because the struggle is getting there at 4:30 or even 5.
Then go after.
Like Title 6 has food. Yeah. But I do understand it doesn't have to be 2 separate meetings as well, just because of the recording requirements for minutes for IS.
Bringing that up, Carrie, I was gonna bring something up to that effect as well.
Is there any other discussion on any of the other topics?
Or the April board meeting.
What's the next week? The first?
Oh, April 19th. It's
Should be,
19th.
yes.
April 19th, I'll fix that. You're right, thank you.
Okay. And then we have a special meeting on the 22nd. ACASB delegates dinner on the 24th at Movements in Cuba. The 29th is Board of Education meeting. Yearbook picture will be taken. I believe the correspondence was to wear warrior gear. So everybody put on your best warrior gear and comb your hair and brush your teeth and put on lipstick and, sorry, Brad. And we'll get a picture at the next meeting. All right. 31st, we got personnel. April 5th, we've got a special meeting. April 6th, we have BOCES annual dinner. 12th, Finance Committee, and then, of course, the change to the April 15th on the agenda. It's actually April 18th. Anything else, anyone? No? Okay. Well, I'll accept the motion to adjourn the meeting. So, motion by Sue. Second by Dale. Comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.